on First at 9, this Thursday the 26th of September 2024. Amended. Election Commission amends the number of MPs to be elected from 4 districts. Support and commitment. President to appoint committee to fast-track foreign aid projects. The World Bank Group affirms its commitment to Sri Lanka's economic recovery. Keeping promises. Government provides fertilizer subsidies for the coming growing season. Fuel subsidies for fishing boats from October. Neighbourhood love. India is confident of relationships with neighbours remaining constructive and positive, says Indian External Affairs Minister. China vows to remain a reliable partner for Sri Lanka. Plan ahead. Losses from the government's proposed tax exemptions to be recovered by addressing leakages in state income departments, affirms NPP executive member.
ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දෙනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක. කොහොමද? ඒනං ස්වදේශී ඔරිජිනල් කොහොඹම තමයි.
This is Derana First at 9, live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to Sri Lanka's premier primetime English news bulletin, Derana First at 9. I'm Tarindu Mahendra, joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and from around the world. Now, in your top story this evening, President Anura Kumara Dissanayake announced plans to establish a committee tasked with approving foreign aid projects within 3 months, which is expected to expedite the implementation of projects financed by the Asia Development Bank and other foreign loans. While attending a meeting with officials of the Ministry of Power and Energy, the head of state revealed that the country currently possesses sufficient fuel reserves to meet consumption needs. Nevertheless, the president urged officials to efficiently plan for fuel procurement for the upcoming year. During a meeting with officials of the Ministry of Power and Energy today, President Anura Kumara Dissanayake announced that the country currently possesses sufficient fuel reserves to meet consumption needs. While highlighting the importance of maintaining these reserves to ensure uninterrupted fuel availability for the public, the President urged officials to efficiently plan for fuel procurement for the upcoming year. Additionally, President Dissanayake directed the officials to devise a plan for distributing solar panels received through Indian aid to 800 Piriven. The President also highlighted the importance of expediting projects financed by the Asian Development Bank and other foreign loans. Accordingly, he announced plans to establish a committee tasked with approving foreign aid projects within 3 months. The President also underscored the urgency of accelerating rural development projects and swiftly implementing a system to ensure funds are directed to villages, noting that this approach would rapidly strengthen the rural economy.
Horizon Campus 2024 Intake 2. Register now.
චන්දරුසුනේ කාගෙන් මනාපේ සිංහ TV සඳහා සුපිරි ඩීල්.
Now, the World Bank Group affirms its strong commitment to fostering inclusive growth and economic recovery in Sri Lanka and in addressing persisting issues of the poor and the vulnerable. In an official letter to congratulate the newly elected President Anura Kumara Dissanayake, the World Bank's Vice President for the South Asia region, Martin Racer, and Vice President for the Asia and Pacific region of the International Finance Corporation, Ricardo Pulitti, expressed the organization's commitment to supporting Sri Lanka's economic recovery and development. While recognizing that the country's economic reset requires the state's continued attention, the letter states that opportunities for growth, prosperity and development are equally significant. Meanwhile, President Anura Kumara Dissanayake instructed the Treasury to provide an allowance of 25,000 rupees per hectare to paddy farmers for the Maha season of 2024 to 25. In addition, the President has directed the Treasury to implement a fuel subsidy for the fishing community effective from the 1st of October. According to the initiative of the President, the fertilizer subsidy to the farmers, which was previously set at 15,000 rupees per hectare, will be increased to 25,000 rupees with effect from the 1st of October. According to the President's office, the funds will be directly transferred to their bank accounts, a measure that will ensure efficient delivery of the subsidy to farmers. Further, the President's media division stated that this step has been implemented to support sustainable farming. Meanwhile, in a bid to boost the fishing industry and to ensure lower production costs for fishermen, the President has directed the Treasury to implement a fuel subsidy for the fishing community effective from the 1st of October. The fuel subsidy will be available on a monthly basis for both multi-day and one-day fishing vessels. Similar to the agricultural subsidy, this funding will also be directly deposited into the fishermen's bank accounts. The President's media division stated that efforts will be made to provide financial and technical support for the recovery of marine fisheries, which are currently facing significant challenges. Now, National Executive Committee member of the National People's Power, Chaturanga Abesinghe, says the government's proposed reductions in value-added tax, particularly the exemption for essential items, could lead to an annual loss of about 55 billion to 60 billion rupees in tax income. Joining our current affairs program at Hyde Park with Indivariya Muwatta, Abesinghe said despite this potential setback, the government possesses a strategy to recover approximately 120 billion rupees annually through various measures, including addressing leakages in customs and excise. He also emphasized that negotiations with the IMF will recommence in 2 weeks, focusing on finding ways to balance tax benefits with the need for increased public revenue.
Is the reduction or doing away with value-added tax, and you have a significant loss of revenues to the economy, a key indication condition put forth by the IMF. How do you plan to offset this?
So basically the tax benefits we are going to give is the VAT exemption for the essential items, which is impacting education, health and food. So when we remove that, we would lose about 55 billion to 60 billion tax income annually. That is the estimate given by the inland revenue. At the same time, we said that the pay threshold from 100,000 we will push it to 200,000. That will induce consumption, which will in turn help the business as well. So these two together, we have to recover 120 billion rupees per annum. For example, there's a leakage in customs and excise department, which we think it will be around 50 billion that we can recover. At the same time, there's unrecovered 1.1 trillion. And same time, we feel that the current GDP growth is also going to give us more than what we initially anticipated as a GDP growth. So these three things is what we will discuss with IMF and say, look, these are the ways that we will recover this. Therefore, we want to give these benefits to the people, and that is a negotiation we will have.
How soon do you plan to start these negotiations?
So negotiations will start probably 2 weeks from now. There have been indications to it, and that's a priority for the new president. And before the election, these negotiations will start. If you really look at the current tax system, the income earners are not in the tax net. We have only about 700,000 people who has tax files, whereas about 2 million people who are above the taxable income. So what we need to do is to use technology to expand this tax base. Where would the money be identified? Is through land, is through vehicles, and is through deposits. So these three things can be connected to the remis system, which is already there. At the same time, income tax is not something you can force and get people to pay. So the government has to build trust, and the inland revenue has to be more customer friendly and ensure that it's not a burden, it's not a threat, it's not something that you force upon. At the same time, citizens also need to feel that the government is not spending their tax money unnecessarily. So we have been giving that indication from day one.
PP has spoken about tax exemptions, taxes that were granted, evasions allowed for certain investments. Do you plan to review this?
In terms of the historic ones, we would not. But in terms of going forward, we would be very much aware of what is impact on the national revenue, because even our GDP grows, if we are not getting that benefit to the treasury, it's a big problem. So in terms of giving benefits, it will be timely benefits, it will be time bound and not extended beyond a certain period. Some of these things have happened, so we can't go back and correct all those things. But when we are putting the new investment portfolio, we will be in par with other countries.
While congratulating Sri Lanka on the successful completion of the recent presidential election, Chinese ambassador to Sri Lanka, Chi Zhen-hong, expressed his confidence that the island nation would be able to achieve economic prosperity under the leadership of newly elected President Anurakumara Dissanayake. Addressing the 75th anniversary celebration of the founding of the People's Republic of China held in Colombo, the ambassador stated that China remains a trustworthy friend and reliable partner to Sri Lanka and will continue to assist in the island nation's economic recovery process. Sri Lankan Foreign Minister Vijitha Herath, who also graced the occasion, expressed Sri Lanka's gratitude to China for its continued support and expressed the new government's eagerness to further strengthen bilateral relations. An event was held in Colombo last evening to mark the 75th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China. Sri Lanka's newly appointed Foreign Minister Vijitha Herath graced the occasion as its chief guest. The event also saw the attendance of the Chinese ambassador to Sri Lanka, Chi Zhen-hong, US Ambassador Julie Chung, former Presidents Mahinda Rajapaksa and Maithripala Sirisena, Central Bank Governor Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe, and Maubima Janata Party leader, entrepreneur Dilith Jayavira.
Sri Lanka greatly appreciates the continuous support extended by Chinese financial institutions in the ongoing debt restructuring process. As we continue to deal with the challenges of economic recovery, Sri Lanka seeks China solidarity, support and continued partnership for the economic recovery process. Chinese tourist arrivals have continued to increase, nearly 77,000 Chinese tourists in the first 6 months this year. We are pleased to note that China is among the 7th countries recognized under the ongoing free visa regime implemented by Sri Lanka.
China remains trustworthy friend and a reliable partner to Sri Lanka. Facts have repeatedly shown that the close and deep cooperation between China and Sri Lanka, the more capable Sri Lanka will be in safeguarding its sovereignty, security, development, and dignity, and in playing a big role in regional and international affairs. I would like to take this opportunity to extend my warm congratulations to our brothers and sisters in Sri Lanka on the successful presidential election. The people of Sri Lanka have now entered a new era and are writing a new chapter of history. I firmly believe that with the support and assistance from China and other friendly countries and under the strong leadership of President Dissanayake, people of Sri Lanka will definitely overcome all risks and challenges, fully recover from the current crisis and revive national economy and achieve prosperity.
Now, in other international comments on Sri Lanka, Indian Minister of External Affairs Dr. S. Jaishankar said that his country and people are glad of being able to extend support for Sri Lanka during the economic crisis in 2022. Responding to a query at a discussion organized by the Asia Society, the Indian External Affairs Minister said that Sri Lanka is responsible in solving their own politics.
India has given lots of unconditional aid to Bangladesh and Sri Lanka in particular, which seems to have not brought benefit. There have been government changes there which seem to be potentially adverse for India. So I'm curious how Dr. Jaishankar thinks about that.
We stepped forward in respect of Sri Lanka when it was facing a very deep economic crisis, and very frankly, when nobody else came forward. And I'm very glad we did it. We did it in a timely manner. We did it on scale. We put out $4.5 billion effectively. And what it did was it stabilized the Sri Lankan economy, and the rest of it was up to them. At the time we did it, it was not that we had a political conditionality which accompanied that. I mean, we were doing it as a good neighbor who did not want to see that kind of economic meltdown at our doorstep. So I think what happens politically in Sri Lanka, that's for their politics to work out. At the end of the day, each one of our neighbors would have their own particular dynamics. It's not our intention to suggest that their dynamics must necessarily adhere to what we might consider as being better for us. This is a real world. I mean, everybody makes their choices, and then countries adjust to each other and find ways of working it out.
Star Dishwasher Dali Tel Indul Pahasuwen Sede Star Dishwasher Magic Tub එක.
Crunchy goodness for hunger on the go.
welcome back. Now, with the parliamentary elections being announced for the 14th of November this year, Commissioner General of Elections Samantri Ratnayaka announced that postal voting applications for the coming election would be accepted from the 30th of September until the 7th of October. Meanwhile, the Election Commission has amended the number of representatives that can be elected to the Parliament from Colombo, Gampaha, Kalutara and Jaffna districts. On the 24th of September, President Anurukumara Dissanayake dissolved the 9th Parliament of Sri Lanka, allowing the Election Commission to call a parliamentary election. As per the extraordinary Gazette notification issued by the President on the dissolution of Parliament, the general election would be held on the 14th of November this year. Additionally, nominations for the parliamentary election would be accepted from the 4th of October until 12 noon on the 11th of October, while the 10th Parliament is scheduled to convene for the first time on the 21st of November. Against such a backdrop, the Election Commission has amended the number of representatives that can be elected to the Parliament in 4 districts. In previous occasions, 19 members were elected to Parliament from the Colombo district, while 18 were elected from the Gampaha district. 10 parliamentarians were elected from the Kalutara district, while the number of parliamentarians elected from Jaffna stood at 7. In a statement, the Commission noted that the number of MPs to be elected from Colombo has reduced by a seat to 18. However, the number of MPs to be elected from Gampaha has increased by a seat to 19. Kalutara also saw an increase by a seat to 11, while the number of representatives to be elected to the Parliament from Jaffna has reduced by a seat to 6. According to the Election Commission, the number of parliamentary seats from each district has been determined based on fluctuations in the population in each district.
ඒ අඩු වැඩි වීමට හේතුව ඡන්දදායකයන් සංඛ්‍යාවේ අදාළ දිස්ත්‍රික්ක වලින් මන්ත්‍රීවරු සංඛ්‍යාවෙන් බෙදීමෙන් තමයි මේ ප්‍රමාණය නිර්ණය වෙන්නේ. මේක මීට පෙරත් ඒ අදාළ වන අවස්ථාවලදී මේ අඩු වැඩි වීම සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙනවා.
Further, the Commission announced that the acceptance of postal voting applications for the parliamentary polls will commence on the 30th of September.
September මාසේ 30 වෙනිදා සිට ඔක්තෝබර්
Postal voting applications will be accepted between September 30th and October 7th. In this election, as we are using the same electoral register, there is no need for those who applied for postal voting in the last election to submit applications again. However, if your postal voting applications were rejected in the previous election, you must resolve the issue that caused the rejection and reapply for postal voting. If you did not submit postal voting applications for the last presidential election but belong to service categories expected to be employed for election duties, you have the opportunity to submit postal voting applications for this election.
මෙතන රාජකාරී සඳහා යොදාගන්නට අපේක්ෂිත සේවා කාණ්ඩයක සිටිනවා නම් ඔවුන්ටත් නැවත අලුත් තැපැල් ඡන්ද ඇඳුම්පතක් ඉදිරිපත් කිරීමට අවස්ථාව ලැබෙනවා.
Former State Minister Dilum Amunugama joined Dilith Jayavira's Maubima Janata Party today, following which he was appointed as the party's national organizer. Addressing the press conference held to mark the occasion, MJP leader Dilith Jayavira asserted that the appointment represents the beginning of the new political journey of his alliance Sarvajana Balaya, which will contest the coming general election. Former parliamentarian and state minister Dilum Amunugama joined the Maubima Janata Party today. Subsequently, Amunugama was appointed the Maubima Janata Party's national organizer by party leader Dilith Jayavira.
ඉතාම ජව සම්පන්න දේශපාලනයේ තාරුණ්‍ය නියෝජනය කරන
Dilum Amunugama, a politician representing the younger generation, has joined us. He will play a crucial role in our future political journey. He is a person equipped with valuable political experience. We believe that there is no one more suited for the position of national organizer of our political movement than him.
දේශපාලනයට ඔහුට වැඩිය හොඳ කෙනෙක් නැහැ අපේ ජාතික සංවිධායක තනතුරට.
අපි ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂ මැතිතුමත් එක්කයි වගකීම් බාරගත්තේ.
We accepted our responsibilities alongside Gotabaya Rajapaksa. However, we ultimately had to part ways with Ranil Wickremesinghe. Currently, we have the freedom to choose whom we want to align with in order to advance our political careers. I have informed the General Secretary of the SLPP in a letter that I will be resigning my party membership. As the national organizer, I have accepted this responsibility to strengthen the party.
කිරීමේ අරමුණෙන් කියන කාරණේ බොහොම ගෞරවයෙන් මේ අවස්ථාවේදී මතක් කරන්න අවශ්‍යයි.
He didn't call me regarding the national organizer position, but he did attempt to reach out.
අනිවාර්යෙන් ඉල්ලනවා. අපි ලංකාවේ වඩාත්
Yes, definitely we will contest. We will form a political alliance that can make a significant impact in the upcoming elections. We have invited for discussions parties that the people trust and politicians who are willing to accept our political agenda.
දේශපාලනඥයින්ට අප හා සමග සංවාදයකට එන්න. හැමදාම මෙතන දැන් තියෙනවා ප්‍රෙස් කොන්ෆරන්ස් එකක්. ඔබට හැමදාම මෙතෙන්ට එන්න පුළුවන්.
ඉන්නේ මේ රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්තයාගේ සිලින්ඩරේ කට්ටිය ඉතරද?
නෑ රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්තයාගේ සිලින්ඩරේ කියන එකම.
As they have stated, the alliance created by Ranil Wickremesinghe was an independent approach to face the political climate that persisted during that time. The highest endorsement that can be given to the members of that alliance is that they are independent. So far, those joining us are independent individuals, but we have also invited other parties to join us. We will not be contesting under the star. We will be contesting under the Sarvajana Bale, and we hope to obtain a new symbol.
Now, political parties and groups that supported former President Ranil Wickremesinghe in this year's presidential election are set to contest the parliamentary elections under a single political alliance. Meanwhile, the United National Party says that discussions between the party and Samagi Jana Bala Vega regarding contesting the general election together are positive. A special meeting was held last night, chaired by former Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena, with the participation of politicians who supported former President Ranil Wickremesinghe in the recent presidential election. The meeting took place at former President Wickremesinghe's Election Operations Office on Flower Road, Colombo.
සන්ධානයක් හැදෙනවා වාමාංශික ප්‍රගතිශීලී බලවේගත් එක්ක ඉදිරි මහමැතිවරණයට ඉදිරිපත් වීම සඳහා.
දැන් මේ ජනතාව නම් කියන්නේ හිටපු മന്ത്രിලා ඔක්කොම ගෙදර යවන්න ඕන කියලා පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ. ඔව් මහජනයා එහෙම තීන්දුව කරනවා නම් ඒක ප්‍රශ්නයක් නෑ. ජනතාවගේ තීරණයට හිස නමනවා. රටේ ජනතාව පැයෙන් පැය වෙනස් වෙනවා අනිත්‍යයි නෝ. කවුද හිතුවේ මේ විදිහට රට වෙනස් වෙනවා කියලා. ඒ නිසා වෙනස් වීම සාමාන්‍යයි.
Meanwhile, it has been reported that all political parties and groups that supported former President Ranil Wickremesinghe in this year's presidential election will contest the parliamentary elections under a single political alliance. A final decision on this matter has not yet been made, although several discussions were held today. Accordingly, representatives of the United National Party met with former President Ranil Wickremesinghe this morning for a special discussion at the Election Operations Office on Flower Road.
හැමෝගෙම ඒකමතික තීරණය තමයි අපි සියලු දෙනාම එකතු වෙලා ඡන්දය ඉල්ලන්න ඕන කියන එක. ඉතින් ඒ සඳහා පසුගිය ජනාධිපතිවරණයේදී පිට එක හිටපු කණ්ඩායම් සියලු දෙනාම එකතු කරගෙන ඉදිරියට යන්නත් තමයි අපි කල්පනා කරේ. ඒ අතර අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම අපි සමගි ජන බලවේගය එක්ක සාකච්ඡා කරනවා. බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා සුබවාදී පිළිතුරක් හම්බෙයි කියලා සජබෙත් එක්කත්. ඒ සජබෙයි අපි ඔක්කොම එකතු වෙලා එක කණ්ඩායමක් හැටියට මහමැතිවරණයට මුහුණ දෙන්න තමයි මේ සැලසුම් හදන්නේ සාකච්ඡා කරන්නේ. කොහොමද අපි ඉදිරියට යන්නේ කියලා අයිඩියා එකක් නැත්නම් හෙට උදේ වෙනකොට තීරණයක් අපිට ගන්න වෙනවා. සජබේ මොන පාර්ශව එක්කද සාකච්ඡා කරන්නේ? සජබේ නායකයෝ එක්ක ඇති නායකයෝ ඒවා සමහර දේවල් රහස් තියෙනවනේ. ඒ ලංකාවේද කියලා ඒවා රහස්. මගිය කැමති වෙන මට්ටමක්ද තියෙන පුදුමලත් එක්ක? ධනාත්මක ස්වභාවයක් සාකච්ඡාවල තියෙනවා. අපි හිතනවා එකතු වෙන්න පුළුවන්. හැබැයි මේ සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මහතා කිව්වනේ එහෙම සාකච්ඡාවක් යන්නේ නැහැ කියලා පුදුමලත් එක්ක. පළවෙනි දවසේ එක ප්‍රකාශයක් කරලා තිබුණා. නමුත් එදාම හවස සාකච්ඡාවක් එකට එකතු වෙලා තිබුණා. අපි හිතනවා සාකච්ඡා ඉස්සරහට යන්න පුළුවන් කියලා. මගිය ගන්නම තමයි try එක. හැමෝම ගන්න try එක.
Meanwhile, a discussion took place this afternoon between former President Ranil Wickremesinghe and the representatives of Sri Lanka Podu Jana Peramuna who supported him in the last presidential election.
එක කණ්ඩායමක් හැටියට ඉල්ලන එක ස්ථිරයි. හැබැයි මොකද්ද පක්ෂය මොකද්ද ලාංඡනය කියන එක අපේ අදරා තීන්දුව කරනවා. ආලියා ගැනත් හිතනවා, කුසලානේ ගැනත් හිතනවා, පුටුව ගැනත් හිතනවා. ඒ සිම්බල් එක මොකද්ද, පෙරමුණ මොකද්ද කියන එක හෙට උදේ වෙනකොට තමයි දැනගන්න.
දැන් මේ හෝමාගම කුල්ල කුජීත වුණාද?
හෝමාගම විතරක් නෙමෙයි, කඩුවෙල, කැස්බෑව, මහරගම ඒ ප්‍රදේශවල ජනයා අපි කියන මේ ආර්ථික යථාර්ථයන් පිළිගත්තේ නැහැ. ඒක නිසා ඔවුන් වෛරෙන් වගේ මේ සියලුම ක්‍රමයට වෙනස් අලුත් අත්දැක බැලීමකට ඡන්දය පාවිච්චි කරලා තියෙනවා.
Meanwhile, former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga, along with Sri Lanka Freedom Party Chairman and former Minister Nimal Siripala De Silva and other party members met today in Nittamur to discuss preparations for the upcoming general election and the party's future agenda.
ඉදිරියේ මැතිවරණවලට රට ඉල්ලන ජනතාව ඉල්ලන ඒ වෙනසත් එක්ක ඉදිරිපත් වෙන්න අපි සූදානම්.
වෙන සංදානෙන් දෙකතුනා වැඩි තරමවද?
නෑ අපි තාම කාත් එක්ක සංදානගත වෙනවද කියලා අපි නෑ. හැබැයි බොහෝ පක්ෂ අපිත් එක්ක සාකච්ඡා කරලා තියෙනවා.
මෛත්‍රීපාල හිටපු ජනාධිපතිතුමා හැම සාහිත්‍යයක්
නෑ දැන් මේ සියලු පාර්ශවයන් ඉවරයිනේ. ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පාක්ෂය කියලා කියන්නේ නිමා සිරිපාල මැතිතුමාලා අපි ඉන්න චන්ද්‍රිකා මැතිණිය ඉන්න මේක තමයි ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂය කියලා කියන්නේ.
Chairman of Litro Gas Lanka, Mudita Peiris, announced his resignation from the chairmanship of the state-run LP gas supplier effective tomorrow. Peiris was appointed to this position on the 13th of June 2022 in the wake of the economic crisis. His resignation comes with the Ministry of Finance appointing a new chairman to the position. During a discussion today, Peiris stated that despite his resignation, LP gas stocks sufficient to meet consumption needs until the end of this year have already been secured.
After holding the position of chairman of Litro Gas Lanka for 2 years and 8 months, I have decided today to resign from my post. This decision comes in light of the notice I received from the Ministry of Finance regarding the appointment of a new chairman. I am proud to say that we have not allowed the billion-rupee debt that was outstanding at the time when we took over the enterprise in July 2022 to carry forward. We have already ordered sufficient gas stocks to meet demand through the end of December and have made the necessary payments. Accordingly, approximately 89,500 to 90,000 tons will be delivered over the coming months until December 31st. Therefore, I am stepping down confident that the new administration and the public will not face any difficulties during this transition. In my opinion, the price formula must continue. When prices increase, local prices should also rise, with the entity absorbing some of the losses. Conversely, when prices decrease, those benefits must be fully passed on to the general public.
Meanwhile, Tilak Sembala-Petiya, one of Sri Lanka's leading energy experts, has been appointed as the chairman of state-owned Ceylon Electricity Board with immediate effect by President Anura Kumara Dissanayake. Sembala-Petiya carries 40 years of experience in the energy sector of Sri Lanka, South and Southeast Asia, the Middle East and East Africa. Sembala-Petiya earned his PhD from the University of Cambridge and has worked in the CEB for a decade in the past and in Saudi Arabia on power sector planning and policy. He is a chartered engineer and a past president of Sri Lanka Energy Managers Association. He has also worked as an international energy consultant in Asia and Africa. Now, the government has officially reinstated the previous visa issuing system effective from midnight today. According to the President's Media Division, all foreigners will be able to apply for visas under the previous system. Yesterday, Controller General of Immigration and Emigration Harsha Ilukpitiya was remanded by the Supreme Court on contempt of court charges over his failure to adhere to the visa issuance process that existed prior to what was being carried out by the foreign firms VFS Global, an order given by the Supreme Court on the 2nd of August. The court ordered Ilukpitiya to be remanded until the conclusion of the case. In business news, the Colombo Bourse edged up today while turnover crossed 4.3 billion rupees. The all-share price index climbed 0.1% to settle at 11,671.87 points, while the more liquid S&P SL20 climbed 0.5% to end at 3,384.29 points. And that's all the news for today. Thank you for joining and have a good night.